So Olivia, how are you? Crazy week in MMA.
Mad week.
Yeah.
One of the craziest in MMA history, for as long as I can remember at least. Where to begin though?
I mean, should we go back to April 1st when it all kind of set off and it was all kind of a bit of a joke?
We can do.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I didn't believe it at first.
I was sleeping and got a text from you and woke up thinking he can't be laying an April 1st joke on me at this.
When it was April 2nd.
I think it was April 2nd.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness. Like many didn't believe it, but obviously we joked about it on the first podcast, seeing about how we still didn't quite believe that they would make it into the cage, and we were right, man. They just can't make it into the cage, those two.
Yeah, it was really bullshit in the end. I was really annoyed. The fact that Dana put it up, didn't believe it for a second.
No.
But then I saw Ariel reported on it, and then I started seeing like other MMA reporters, and I thought,
Ariel put in one of his tweets,
it.
I would never joke about that. And I was like, yeah, he probably wouldn't.
And as soon as I saw that, I thought, damn, that's it. The dream of the fight that has been rebooked for 4 separate years is over.
I kept seeing people saying this is a mass April Fool's. I was like, but the UFC aren't going to get Ariel Helwani on the April Fool's.
It's going to be like weigh-in day, and all of a sudden Tony Ferguson pops up.
Goodness.
But no, I mean, so should we crack into the UFC 223 card and go ahead and talk about that one?
We can do.
So a mixed card in the end. Originally, the main card lineup was supposed to consist of a opener of Paul Felder and Al Iaquinta. Then we were supposed to go into a Michael Chiesa versus Anthony Pettis fight, followed by Renato Moishe and Calvin Keita. Yeah. Then the co-main of Rose and Joanna, and finally the main event was then supposed to be Max Holloway taking on Khabib. But it was completely different to what we ended up getting. But we'll go into the main card in a little bit. But first of all, we're going to crack into the prelims. Olivia, did you end up watching the prelims?
I did. I watched them on Fight Pass.
Yep.
Couple of fun ones. I enjoyed all of them. Obviously, the Dunham, Mercier knockout. Very good.
Fun and kind of surprising way to finish the fight as well, in my opinion.
I think I picked him to lose. I think I picked Mercier to lose that fight, but it was a surprising fight. But nothing too special. I mean, the disappointment of the week that had gradually built up.
I think as soon as we finally got to that first fight, when Mike Rodriguez had stepped into the octagon, we were like, oh, okay, it is here now. We are going to have an event.
And that first fight weren't special either, so it just...
Nah, so we had no Fight Pass prelims after being advertised as a beat. Who ended up making the main card, probably had the best fight of the night.
Really good fight, yeah. Really good fighter as well.
Yeah. So that he ended up being on the pay-per-view. Originally supposed to be the scheduled first fight, I think it was, on the Fight Pass prelims.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to have Artem versus Alex Caceres, but we'll get to that in the news. But yeah, the first fight of the night was Devon Clark taking on Mike Rodriguez. Ended up winning by unanimous decision, 29-28 and 2 lots of 30-27. I was also watching NXT TakeOver at this point, so I had one eye on that and one eye on the UFC. But what was your thoughts on that? I don't like Devon Clark as a fighter.
It was a boring fight. 30-27 seemed like the correct score to give it. The 29-28, I personally didn't agree with, but I mean, refs can do what they, judges can do what they want, can't they? But not a special fight, and like I said, it just put a dampener on an already sad evening for me. Got better, but didn't start off great.
Yeah, I mean, I had one eye. I think there was a bit of a mental ladder match going on at this point, so I was like, damn, going to be watching that one. But no, I don't like Devon Clark. I haven't been impressed too much with his performances. I think he's a bit of a boring fighter, and he just grinds fights out. He hasn't got a decision, he hasn't got a finish inside the UFC yet. Granted, he's 3-1 now, which is not too bad. The only loss coming to Jan Blachowicz, but another win over someone that doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
There we go.
Second fight of the evening, Ashley Evans-Smith took on the GOAT in Beck Rollins. What were your thoughts on this fight?
It was a fun fight. It wasn't a bad fight. Evans-Smith clearly won it. Rollins seemed as if she wasn't, I don't know, with it. She'd throw a few strikes but never followed up with very much. So she just didn't seem like she was 100% there in the fight.
I think she just tried to look for one bang.
She definitely did. She looked like she was trying to get the knockout, but obviously she's going up, isn't she? Going up because she fought at 115, going up. Sometimes that power translates, sometimes it doesn't, especially when Evans-Smith is going down, if I'm not wrong.
Evans-Smith coming down from bantamweight. This is actually Rollins' second fight at flyweight. previously losing a split decision to Jessica Rose Clark.
So I think she's three losses in a row now or something.
Four in a row.
So it's not good for her. Evan Smith, obviously the bigger girl, so it's a little bit more difficult to knock her out with that one punch. And the fight went the way that it went when you fight like that. When you go for that one punch against the bigger person, it's difficult to catch them, and that's what we saw.
Yeah, Rollins now joining Artem in the negative record club in the UFC, and I don't expect to see anything from Beck Rollins anymore. I mean, she put on some fun-ish fights, but
it's tough not to get cut if you don't know Conor McGregor, if we're being honest. So.
Yeah. 0-4 inside the last 4 fights, and yeah, finished by Paige Vanzant. Tisha Torres beat her, Rose Clark, and now Evan Smith. I think it's probably the end of the line for Felice Herron. No, not Felice Herron. Sorry, Beck Rollins. That fight will be coming up in a bit.
Very, very, very likely. It's a tough one for him. Right? It's tough to come back from. I mean, it's not tough to come back from, but it's tough to be given an opportunity to come back from in the UFC.
Yeah, definitely. Next fight then was a really fantastic performance. Olivia Aubin's Mercier.
Canadian gangster.
Yeah, with his lovely, his look overall really, the moustache, the bag as well that he had at the weigh-ins.
Little satchel.
He took on top 15 ranked Evan Dunham, and what a performance.
Yeah, looked solid. Crazy knockout, obviously. No way it didn't win knockout of the night, did it? I didn't see the performance bonuses, but I'm assuming that it did just because was crazy. Yeah, it looked solid fight. It looked like one for the future.
Performance of the night.
Still, how old is he? He's not too old, I wouldn't have thought.
No, and the thing is, he's been working on his striking, which is fantastic. 29 years old, fights at a TriStar.
Exactly. I mean, when you got Faraz Sahabi in your corner, it's tough not to improve as a fighter, not to get better. I mean, we've seen with his fighters in the past. Tough guy, not tough win, good win. And we'll see what he can do in the future. Yeah,
it's great as well for Mercier, because that was his 4th win in a row. He's now 7-1 in his last 8 fights, all inside the UFC. And you can't say that he's not on the cusp of being in that top 15. I was listening to the John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast, and they said they expect Mercier to get a tougher test in his next fight, maybe like a James Vick. Is what I personally would like to see, because I think that's a good fight of 2 prospects coming up in the UFC.
I don't think James Vick would want that fight. He keeps
looking
for that top 10 fight, that top 5 fight. But yeah, it definitely wouldn't be a bad fight for those 2 guys, and then winner obviously breaks into that top 10, top 7 upper echelons of fighters.
Yeah, so a 53-second knockout then for Mercier, and a performance of the night bonus as well went his way. Dunham was on a good streak going into this fight. He had 4 wins and 1 draw in his last 5. Recently that draw against Dariush, which I think was fight of the night, at the Ferguson versus Lee card, I'm pretty sure it was. But yeah, tough loss for Dunham. Maybe we might see a spiral down in his career. We've seen him bounce back before, but I don't know, he's a little bit older now.
Yeah,
could be a difficult one. Going into the next fight then, we had Karolina Karolvalkovic. I butchered that pronunciation. She ended up getting a unanimous decision victory over the previously mentioned Felice Herring. My apologies, it was split decision victory. 29-28, 29-28 went to Karolina, and then a 29-28 went to Felice Herring. Olivio, your thoughts on this fight?
I thought Karolina won it without the split decision, if I'm being honest. Yeah. I thought it was... she just seemed more active. She seemed like a previous title challenger, fighting against someone who isn't quite there yet in their career, maybe in the future. But Karolina's obviously still showing that she's despite her Joanna loss and all that, she's still up there in strawweight.
Yeah, and I really do think it's between her and Jessica Andrade now to get the next title shot.
Yeah,
I think Andrade probably gets it, but if Karolina ends up waiting, she'll probably get the title shot after that. She certainly earned it, in my opinion. Coming off, I think it's a 2-win streak now. Yeah. Losing to Claudia Gadelha, bouncing back.
It's a good shout. I mean, it's difficult to make the case for other people in that. I mean, Joanna's lost twice now. I'd be very annoyed if they gave her another rematch after.
I don't think they will. She's been talking about going to flyweight now.
Possibly. But it's a tough one. I wouldn't be upset if that was the fight. I think Andrade probably gets it just because she beat Gadelha in the last fight, isn't it?
Yeah, and then ended up beating Tisha Torres as well.
And obviously Claudia Gadelha and Tisha Torres in her own right, they're both highly touted and both really good fighters, so she probably deserves another crack at the title.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, good win for Carolina. Ended up breaking the 4-fight win streak of Felice Herron. And yeah, I thought it was a fun fight overall.
Yeah, not a bad one.
We move into the pay-per-view now then. Chris Gruetzemacher, previously from the Ultimate Fight. I think it was Faber versus McGregor the season he was on.
I think so, yeah.
He took on Joe Lauzon, veteran of the UFC. And it was the first time that we ended up seeing Lauzon losing 3 fights in a row.
It's a tough loss. They've got it here as KO, but obviously it was doctor stoppage. Bleeding fairly heavily, I think it was.
I think the cornerman threw in the towel as well.
Yeah, the cornerman threw in the towel.
So it's retirement.
Yeah, it's a tough loss, man. But overall, I think it was a good fight for Chris Gruetzemacher, who's showing that he can fight. Obviously, Joe Lauzon isn't quite the best anymore, but he can fight with the upper echelons of guys. And I enjoy seeing people throwing the towel when they're losing. I just think it's smart.
Yeah, I saw this as a surprising win. Gruetzemacher coming off 2 losses straight, lost in his return to the lightweight division against Davi Ramos. In my opinion, I thought Lauzon had this one all day. But it's a really good victory for him, in my opinion. That's if you discount Ultimate Fighter victories. So the finale win against Abner Lovares. That was Gruetzemacher's first proper win in the UFC. So I was personally surprised by it, and I'd say fair play.
Yeah, it looked dominant. Looked like he was in control of that fight.
So the next fight was a featherweight clash between Zabit Magomedov Sharipov
Magomed Sharipov
taking on Kyle Bochniak. Yeah, what a fight!
What a fight! Kyle looked crazy, and Zabit looked amazing. He looked very technical, very tough. And Kyle Bochniak, I mean, this is one of those fights where even though Kyle lost, and it was a fairly clear loss, he probably came out looking fairly good in the eyes of most fans.
Yeah, that just brawl bit at the end was just
sticking
great.
his tongue out, shaking his head, everything.
And then the hug just afterwards, it was they've gone to war and they've just gone.
It's nice to see it afterwards. It's nice to see afterwards, but Zabit, man, definitely one to look for in the future.
Calling out Yair Rodriguez post-fight as well, very interesting.
Both really good strikers, not a bad fight that.
Rodriguez is claiming that he has a fight already booked and it's going to be coming out in the next few days. But Coach Mark Henry, did you see the tweet that he put out to Yair? It was really good. So he said that when Yair fought Frankie took a chance on him because obviously he wasn't really well known at the time, Yair. So he said he needs to return the favour because obviously Zabit from Frankie Edgar's camp with Mark Henry, Eddie Alvarez, all them lot, and he said he should return the favour to him. Yeah,
don't know whether it's quite on the same level. I don't think Yair quite has the same name as Frankie Edgar, but I definitely see the comparisons. Obviously, it'd be a nice one for Zabit to get that under his name, to get another to beat another up and comer, another prospect, and push himself towards that title contention in 2019 and beyond, or maybe 2019 and beyond, if we're being honest.
Yeah, and that's something that I like about the featherweight division, because we've got a lot of prospects that are coming up. So you've got Calvin Kattar, who, although he came off the loss, didn't look fantastic, but didn't look bad. You got Renato Moishe, who I think could be a real threat in this division now that we've seen him. Zabit is there. Brian Ortega, a lot of fresh blood in that featherweight division.
The champ's still young.
Yeah, Max Holloway. I mean,
we forget because he's champ, but he's still young himself.
And you've still got the people like Jeremy Stevens.
Yeah.
Jose Aldo could potentially still be a threat. Mirsad Bektik's coming up.
Despite the losses, is obviously still there.
Yeah. Cub Swanson.
Yeah.
It's a really stacked division.
It's good. Obviously, you have people like Khabib after his last fight, not this fight, after the last one, was claiming that he would look after the idea of going down one day. So you never know. Like, there's people going up, there's people going down, and it's both those divisions, 145 and 155, man, they're just crazy stacked at the moment.
And BJ Penn's last fight was down there.
There we go.
But yeah, the next fight was another featherweight fight, kind of transitioning from featherweights. Renato Moishe ended up leg kicking the death out of Calvin Kattar. Good fight.
Decent fight. Had Kattar winning. Didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I think he was on a really, really strong winning streak beforehand, and obviously Moicano, I hadn't seen much of him. I saw that he'd lost to Brian Ortega, so I didn't quite think he had it in him, but decent showing from him.
Yeah, it was really good. The leg kicks really did isolate Kattar. think this was the first fight out of all of the ones before where we made predictions.
Yes.
So it's the first one of the night where we finally got a prediction in. I went for a Moishe decision. Obviously, previously he'd beat Jeremy Stevens and came off a tough loss to Brian Ortega. I thought he was winning the 2 rounds previous to that, and Ortega got him in a guillotine. And I think Moishe really can be a threat up in this division.
Definitely, man. It's tough not to say, especially after a showing like that. He called someone out. I can't remember who he called out as well.
I have no idea.
Not all that important, I suppose. But he called someone out, and tough guy, man. Looks the part. Speaks English, and all that helps when
Has that Brazilian market.
Exactly. All that helps when you're looking for the UFC to give you that push. So expecting big things from the man.
I'd like to see him go up against Josh Emmett next. I think it could be a good fight, a clash of potentialists. That's another guy who we forgot to talk about.
Yeah.
Josh Emmett, fantastic featherweight prospect. I think that'd be a good prospect fight, both in the top 10 range. I think it'd be really interesting to see how he'd get on. For Calvin Kattar, I'd like to see him go back down, maybe fight someone a little bit lower ranked. Previously had fought Shane Burgos and Andre Fili inside the UFC. So maybe take on someone around that 15 to 13 mark. Could see him go around there.
Yeah. I think, I'm just looking at it now, I think he called out the winner of Frankie or Cub.
Okay, could
Not
be
a bad shout out.
maybe a bit of a high prospect.
For sure.
Might give him the loser of that fight. But yeah,
Reach for the stars and then land somewhere in between, I suppose.
if you're calling out, you might as well go for it.
Exactly.
So now we move into the co-main event of the evening. We had the women's strawweight championship on the line. Rosen Namajunas, the champ, took on former champion Joanna Jędrzejczyk. And yeah,
Dominant win. Not quite dominant because she lost a few rounds, but very good win from Rose.
the judges saw this 49-46. I saw it 3-2. I saw Rose winning the first 2 rounds and the 5th. 1-2-5. Joanna probably won 3 and 4, but it was judges saw it as 4-1.
Yeah, a little bit, not so much controversy, but Joanna complaining after the fact. She thinks her strikes should have won her the fight, but obviously you can't win a fight just based on pure numbers, especially if most of those numbers are coming from 2 rounds as opposed to the whole fight.
And it was mostly significant strikes that Joanna landed. She didn't really land... I think Rose outstruck her, but Joanna landed more significant strikes. So, I mean, she can't really complain, but I think that Rose won the fight.
Yeah, 100% agree, and she proved me wrong, man, because I picked Joanna for this fight.
I think I went Rose decision as well.
I think you may have done. I picked Joanna for this fight. I thought she'd get it, she'd win, and then we get the third clash of the two, the final decider. But Rose, man, I mean, we've seen her grow from obviously her loss on the Ultimate Fighter finale to where she is now, obviously champion, and it's nice to see, man. She seems like a nice person, and it's really nice to see, because you get so used to the Conor McGregors and the trash talk and all that. It's nice to see someone that just doesn't play that game and just does her job and then goes home.
And the crazy part of this fight might not have even taken place. The dolly that went through the window, it landed right next to Namajunas.
Yeah.
And she said she was a bit shooken up. You could see at the weigh-in.
See, we were thinking about remaking some of our picks, and I was thinking in my head about what I would change, if anything, and I thought that was a definite... If a fighter's getting scared by stuff like that and thinking about not fighting, I was like, she's not with it. She's not going to win this fight. Proved that none of that was true and that she just went out there and did a job.
Even in the walk-in, Pat Barry with the massive hug, it was fantastic. I'm really happy to see Rose win the fight. And the fact that she beat Joanna in a straight-up kickboxing match as well. The last minute of the round, she got the takedown. But before that,
no lucky
straight-up
punches.
kickboxing.
No lucky punches. Not that the last fight was a lucky punch, but there was arguments, people were saying she got a little bit lucky with that. You can't make that argument now, man.
But that left hook.
Yeah.
That left hook.
Her a couple of times in this fight as well.
Yeah, she was catching her, and Joanna needs to learn. She needs to learn to evolve her game, in my opinion.
It's difficult when you're that small and you still got that power in your hand, but there's not much that people can do.
Going into the main event then, we had Khabib Nurmagomedov taking on the 11th ranked Iaquinta. Al put a good fight up, but overall it was Khabib time.
Quite clearly Khabib time. Although many people thought that he came out looking maybe worse than in some of his other fights.
I don't think so.
Neither do I.
He outstruck a striker and he dominated him on the floor.
The argument against that would be Iaquinta wasn't moving very much. He was being hit by the jabs, and they weren't crazy strikes. He was letting him hit him with the jabs and wasn't moving his head too much. The case that I would make, because I texted you immediately afterwards, I think, is I think it might have been a different situation if it was Max Holloway that day.
Yeah, I don't think he would have attempted to stand up as much if Max Holloway was in there.
Maybe not.
I think Khabib knew he'd won it, and I think by the third round, when he decided to start standing up, I think he saw it as time to practice his strikes inside the octagon, because when he's at that elite level now, he's not going to get an opportunity like that against a McGregor, against a Barboza, against a Tony Ferguson, against a Max Holloway. He's not going to get that chance where he can work his jab, see what's working, see what's not.
Very
and I
true.
thought, although Iaquinta didn't put up much of a fight, he had the heart and the desire to stay in there.
The toughness, for sure. It was for a guy coming in on a day's notice. Granted, he was training for someone else. He wasn't training for Khabib. Khabib is a different animal, completely different situation. And he came out looking not awful. He definitely weren't close to winning that fight, but he didn't look awful. And Khabib making a case for why he is the true champion. Obviously, he's got the belt now as well.
Yeah, so Khabib now the UFC lightweight champion. So interesting to see that one play out, how that division is going to go. I mean, could go anywhere.
It really could. I mean, there's just so many choices, so many options that they have open to them. Obviously, we'll get into a few more of those in the news, but it's going to be a fun 2018 for the 155 division.
I mean, for most weight classes, we saw what happened in that press conference. I'm looking forward to everything.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, 25 years, they got to go hard or go home.
So that's going to do it then for the UFC 223 roundup. Should we go ahead and crack into the news now?
Yeah.